And how many of you are from B2B companies? Oh, good. Okay. That's what we are. And B2C companies? Okay. And how many of you will admit to being a little perplexed or confused about ABM? Okay. That's understandable. So before I get into the ABM piece, I think you need to understand a little bit about who we are. So we do one thing and we do one thing only, and we do it very well. We profile C-level executives. C-level executives are CEOs, chief marketing officers, chief information officers, anyone with a C on their title, also EVPs and SVPs. So we create the most in-depth profiles of executives. We have a database of thousands of these profiles. And our customers tend to be sales and marketing organizations, primarily with tech companies who are trying to sell very big, complex deals into the enterprise. And a lot of times these deals need the approval or at least the influence of the C-suite. So our customers are trying to figure out how to have substantive business conversations, sales call prep. So we are used by salespeople. Marketers also use our product to support account-based marketing programs, because C-level engagement is often a part of account-based marketing programs. And they also use our content and our insight to drive more relevant executive engagement programs like CIO summits, events, advisory boards, things of that nature. Our product could not be simpler. It really could not be simpler. It's a website. You log in if you're a subscriber. You search by company or by executive name. The profiles come up. You can read it or download it. And if we don't have the one you want, you can order it. So that's all it is. It's very simple. And that's by design. We figured if we made a very simple product, it would be very simple to sell. But that really wasn't true. I think selling is hard, no matter what you're selling, especially when you're selling into enterprises, which we are. Some of these challenges might look familiar to you if you're a B2B company. Our product is a niche, nice-to-have product. Our product is purchased by companies that are doing some kind of strategic account program. They have 50 accounts that they have to further penetrate, or they have 200 must-win accounts, or they're doing large account ABM. So it's a nice-to-have product. The lights are not going to go out at your company if you do not buy Boardroom Insiders. So that was the first challenge that we've had from a sales perspective. Multiple decision makers, you must encounter this. The buying committee. So even though our product is very easy to use and very simple, the way that people buy it is not simple at all. You have multiple groups who want to use the product. They might want to pull it into a CRM. They might want to pull it into dashboards, et cetera. Who's going to pay for that, et cetera, et cetera. But despite these challenges, we've been pretty successful selling into some of these big, complex organizations. These are some of our customers, and we have multi-year relationships with most of these customers. And because of this, we have a lot of conversations with these customers about how they're going to use the product. And we've had kind of a front row seat to the ABM efforts of a lot of these big companies. So while this session is about how we implemented ABM ourselves, what's going on here? Ugh. Anyway, while this session is about how we implemented ABM ourselves, we've had a front row seat to what these companies are doing and seen some really interesting programs and results. And I'll talk about one of these examples in a minute, which is, this is our client, Nick Panay from DXC Technology. So despite seeing what these companies were doing with ABM, learning a lot about ABM, having a long history with ABM in my career, I never really thought that we could do ABM at our company because I thought we were just too small. I mean, we have one full-time marketer, we have one customer success person, we have 3 salespeople. So we're probably smaller than most of these companies that you guys come from. But I had an opportunity last year to go see Nick speak at a conference. He was speaking at a conference called Serious Decisions, and he was talking there about DXC's ABM program, and in fact receiving an award there for the program, which had been very successful. So one of the first things he said was this: help sales close deals and they will become your best friend. This is a really obvious statement, but as marketers, we tend to lose sight of this because we have so many things going on. Marketing is always changing. We have so many programs and tools, but this is really what it's all about. This is what I decided at that point when I heard him talking is I decided this is the only metric I really care about moving forward. And my mindset at the time was we had gone all in on inbound. We were using HubSpot. We still use HubSpot. We were spending all of our marketing budget on HubSpot and content. And we had some great content. Our customers loved it. The prospects we had loved it. They were consuming it at a rapid pace and asking for more. But we weren't generating a lot of new qualified leads. And we needed those qualified leads to grow. So my mindset at the time that I was listening to Nick was like, so there's something not quite right with our marketing. What can we do to generate more leads? And then he said this: the size of your company doesn't matter when you're doing ABM. And I got really excited when I heard him say it's not about huge budget, it's about focus. And then he went on to talk about their ABM program, which I already knew a little bit about at the time. And really what DXC did is, I don't know if you know anything about the company, but at the time they were going through this big merger. They bought like HPE's services business or something, and they were combining. They knew they didn't have the bandwidth to stand up a ABM program, a large ABM program, so they decided to go with something that they call pursuit marketing. They just started with one account. And it was an experiment. And they started with one account where there was a big deal on the table. And they kind of put all of their resources around, LinkedIn ads targeting people who work at this account, their email list. They even bought ads in the subway stations around the headquarters of the company that they were going after. So they worked very closely with sales. They used our profiles to show their executives what the executives of the customer company cared about and try to build relationships between those executives. So as I heard him talk about what they did, with the exception of the subway ads, I thought, well, we could do that. We could afford to do that. So I went back to our team and we had a brainstorm about, how could we do this? So we also decided to start with one account, and we did more than that eventually. But before we get into what we did, I want to talk a little bit about ABM and why you might be confused, because even as someone who had done ABM for 15 years with big accounts, I felt like I didn't know what it was anymore, because all of this technology had come about, and all of a sudden people are talking about ABM as if it's this mass marketing thing. Oh, we can target 2,000 accounts, and that just didn't sound like the ABM that I had known all these years. So I want to just tell you, ABM is not new. Those of you who are younger in the audience, it's been around for decades, especially in the technology space. And it's not a technology, it's not about technology, it's really a strategy. And to me, what it really is it's about, number one, understanding and nurturing your most valuable customers and prospects. The first word to really focus on is understanding. And this is why I was confused with all the technology that's in play. I feel like you can't automate a lot of ABM because you're not sending a personalized message to that particular account. And this is where some of my confusion was coming in. Nurturing, really important, especially when you're talking to C-level executives. You can't just, boom, it's not one and done. It's that drip irrigation of information and messaging and valuable content over time that hooks people in. And then the third highlight here is the most valuable customers and prospects. ABM is really not for every account. You can't, I guess you could try using technology that allows you to scale ABM now, but in my mind, it's reserved for only your most valuable customers and prospects. Call me old school, but that's my perspective on it. And then the last thing to point out is it's not just for prospects, it's for customers too. And I've heard a lot of talk in other sessions today, which is really exciting, about the need to really focus on your own customers. And someone said earlier, use them as I think a lever for growth, because you can cross-sell, you can upsell, and more importantly, happy customers will refer you to other customers. So not all ABM is the same. I think what really helped me when I was confused about it was I went to a Serious Decision conference, and Serious Decisions is a real thought leader in the ABM space and sales and marketing in general, but in ABM in particular. And they shared this framework, and all of a sudden it made sense. So I hope this is helpful to all of you. So they define ABM as coming in 3 flavors. And the first flavor is really that more mass market where you're targeting several of thousands of accounts. And a lot of you use a lot of that automated technology. And you might personalize the message by industry. So for example, healthcare. So you might do a healthcare campaign, and you might have, your 2,000 healthcare accounts of varying sizes, different types of contacts with who you're targeting. But that's, a very low touch, one-to-many type of endeavor. Then you have named account ABM. That's kind of narrowing it a little bit and going one to fewer. So if the first bucket was healthcare, know who the players are, and you know what their strategy is, and you know what you think you can sell them based on what they're trying to accomplish, and you just map it all out, and you might execute on that account plan for a year or more. So this is really what I'm talking about. It's one-to-one. It's not really, there aren't any fancy bells and whistles that you have to use, because as a small company, we don't have a MarTech stack. We don't have a bunch of sales technologies that we're using. So come back to the office after hearing Nick, sit down with the team and discuss what can we do. So just as DXC started with one account, we decided to start with one account. So we identified one very large provider of cloud computing services that we wanted to target. We knew based on what we had read about them that they should be doing business with us, but for whatever reason, they had not engaged with us at all through the regular inbound marketing. We had 0 contacts from this company in our database, which was strange. So we designed a campaign around it and a whole bunch of activities that we were going to do. Being who we are, that we profile executives and we preach to our customers, you need to understand the company before you do your outreach. We did that ourselves. We researched what the company's strategy was, what their sales strategy was in particular. And this is important because, remember, what we sell enables salespeople. It helps drive sales. So we're not just going to talk to their company strategy. We wanted to talk specifically to their sales strategy, so we needed to understand what that was. And a good place to get this information, by the way, earnings calls. Read earnings call transcripts. I'll talk about that later. We wanted to know who the key players were who had titles that typically buy from us or use our products, so we just researched that on LinkedIn. And we compiled a list in a Google Doc, very simple, nothing really fancy about what we did, and collected the contact information. Then we designed the messaging. we created a LinkedIn ad that had a picture of their CEO in it with a quote from their CEO, and then we did some messaging around, gosh, wouldn't you like to help your CEO be more successful? And we did a similar landing page in HubSpot, and we ran this campaign on LinkedIn, and we supported it also with some in-mails to the contacts that we had collected. A little bit about LinkedIn in-mails, because you'll hear that we've used that a lot successfully. We love LinkedIn in-mails, but they are abused because I'm the recipient of a lot of those in-mails. You get these in-mails and you think, oh, well, what is this? And you open it and it's some generic thing. Don't do that. That's very bad, and it's actually worse than not sending it at all because it makes people angry. But if you write an in-mail that says, hey, I saw your boss last earnings call said this, I'm wondering if you are supporting that in your role, because I think we might be able to help you with this. Brief, pique their interest, it works. So within 2 weeks, and by the way, we were really excited about doing this. It was November, we didn't care. We ended up doing it all over the holidays. But within 2 weeks, we had samples in the hands of one contact who was a regional head of field marketing, which is perfect for us. That's typically who buys us, is field marketing. Within a month, we had a meeting with her boss, the head of North American field marketing. And within 6 weeks, we were talking about proposals and what a deal would look like. There were a lot more conversations after that. And I'm happy to say that the deal closed yesterday. 10 months is still a very long time. A 10-month sales cycle is very, very long, but we've had sales cycles as long as 1 to 2 years. And considering that they weren't even in our database, we were not on their radar at all, we consider this a win. So we like the results. Oh, and my partner, our head of sales, would kill me if I didn't tell you this. While this was all going on, one of our customers, from one of our big customers, he left and he went to this company while all this was happening. So not only we had our own campaign going, we had a friendly champion suddenly move to the company, which was very helpful. We might disagree as to what actually made the deal happen. But, all of this stuff helps, right? The more contacts you have, if our champion had come over to the company and no one there had ever heard of us, we weren't on their radar at all, it might have been more difficult. But we were very happy because we closed not only a deal, but a very sizable deal. Sometimes when we go in to a company of this size, they want to do pilots, and it starts small and it continues, kind of trickles down for a few months. This was much more successful than that. So the results, besides, of course, the deal, with a shorter sales cycle than we've seen, we had faster engagement. It was so fast, over the holidays, boom, oh, this looks great, give me some samples. With higher quality engagement, what I mean by that is it was the exact people we wanted to target who would buy us. So it was an easier conversation. They have the budget. A lot of times with inbound, you get people coming in and they don't have that. If they don't have the budget, authority, need, and timing right, they're not qualified, so it takes a lot longer. So with that little success under our belt, or brewing under our belt as of February 2018, we were intrigued by this notion that, this customer left and went to this other company and that was helping us. So we thought, well, what about all of our other users who have kind of disappeared? Where did they go? So we chose a group of 10 companies, and we decided to figure out, we mapped where customers had gone, which customers had gone to these 10 companies. Did we have any users that had moved over to any of these 10 companies? And we did find that there were some, and so we did what we call the We Miss You campaign. And our goal was to re-engage those folks who knew about us at their new company. Why does this keep doing this? So it was a similar process. We always start by understanding the company. And what they're going through from a sales perspective, what their company strategy is. And then we came up with the messaging. It was just like a casual in-mail to these folks, some of whom remembered us and knew us. And so we asked them, hey, do you think you might be able to use us at your new company? We'll give you a trial and you can share it around and see if there's any interest. As far as the results of this, I have no idea. I don't know if this was effective. I know that within these 10 accounts, we have a lot going on. We have proposals out, we have conversations happening, we might even have some deals closed by now. But the point is there was already a lot of activity happening. That's why we chose these companies, because we had already had some conversations going. We already had contacts in our database from these companies who had downloaded some of our content. So I don't know, what the deciding factor was, but it's definitely worth doing and building more contacts, especially those who know you from before within the company. So this is something that we continue to practice, is just to keep an eye on people when they leave, especially our power users and our champions, to figure out where they go and try to re-engage them when they land. The third thing we did, we call it the Box of Awesome campaign. And this was a little bit different because we were targeting chief revenue officers who typically are not the ones who buy us, but their organizations use our profiles heavily, and so we wanted them to be aware of us and maybe kick it over to marketing and say, you guys should check this out, and we could really use this type of content. So we identified chief revenue officers from 40 companies. It started out with profiling them. We used our own methodology to profile them, to learn about their company, about their sales strategy, and we also wanted to learn a little bit about them. One of the things that we do with our profiles is we try to find personal information that they've put out there that tells you something about their hobbies or their leadership philosophy or who they admire, little tidbits like that. So a lot of our profiles have that type of information. And then if we could find something on them, we would try to personalize this box of awesome. We included some swag. If they liked a college football team or basketball team, we would try to personalize it with a jersey or a shirt, fly fishing line in one case. And then, this is where we always kind of close our eye, or cross our fingers and close our eyes. We included their own profile. So we give them their profile that we created of them, which it can be scary. And then we also could find out who some of their top customers were, and so we also provided them with a profile of one of their top customers. And so they could see and judge for themselves whether we were adding any value. They could judge the accuracy. And this has been successful. We just did it, but the results are starting to trickle in. We mailed these out. Our salespeople followed up to make sure that they were delivered. And then they've started to receive some calls, and typically what's been happening is that the CRO will pass it on to somebody else, and we get a call from someone downstream who's had that passed on to them and been asked to check it out. We had one guy say, I sit next to the CRO, and if this deal closes, I would really like one of those cups. So we were able to make the connection that it works. It's more expensive to do this, but all you need is one deal out of something like this to make it worthwhile. So this is kind of fun, something we're also going to continue to do. And then the fourth thing we did that's been very successful, we just started it last month. We call it the big idea. And this came out of a conversation that we were having as a sales and marketing team together about one of our salespeople was really worried about a renewal that was at risk. The customer had started out strong usage of our product, and then it had just tapered off, and he hadn't heard from them. They weren't returning his calls or emails, so he was really worried. It's like, a $40,000 renewal. So we were talking about it, and I said, well, what do you think's going on with the company? Maybe we should research the company and see if we can learn anything. And then maybe make like a video or something where you're talking to them saying, hey guys, I know you've got this going on, here's how we can help you. So we did some research on the company and its sales strategy, and we uncovered pure gold. We found this Analyst Day deck. We didn't even find the transcript, we just found a deck from their recent Analyst Day. And what we found out from that deck was they're not even actively selling to new logos. They're letting their kind of inbound and digital engine do the selling. But what they are doing is they want to sell more to their top 300 accounts. They want to increase product penetration with these large customers. They want to cross-sell and upsell, and they want to align, what did they say, align their conversations to their customers' business themes. Well, who can give those business themes? We can. They have access to those business themes. They had just forgotten that they had access to this and kind of disengaged from our product. So what you see on the right there, our salesperson, Wade, down in the corner, he made a little video. And the first thing that they would see when they would open the email was that slide with their own sales strategy on it, with Wade saying, hey guys, I know you're trying to do this. I know you're trying to sell into these accounts. Look, and we knew what some of those accounts were through our research. We know you're targeting Panasonic. Look, we've got 40 Panasonic executive profiles here. Click in. We know you're looking to talk to them about customer experience. Look, we have 10 people talking about customer experience. And he just took them through almost like a little demo. And he got an email back immediately asking for a meeting. They're using the product again, and suddenly that renewal doesn't look like it's going to be lost. We've done this same thing in the last month with prospects that have gone dark, prospects where we have big proposals out, but they've gone dark and we don't know what's going on. We can't get a call back or an email back. And in putting in this extra effort, 100% of contacts have been re-engaged. It's a small sample, but very promising. This is really consistent with what I've been hearing all day today at HubSpot, by the way. It's very similar to what I just heard in that last keynote about really surrounding your customers with a great experience. And it got us thinking about how can we scale this big idea. It doesn't need to scale hugely, but could we go back to our customers once a quarter by doing some research on them and saying, you know what, guys, here's a big idea for you for this quarter. We read your earnings call. We know you're working on this. What if? And provide that kind of value. So from a customer success perspective, that's something that we're really interested in doing and scaling. Key learnings. We need inbound and outbound. That's what we've learned from this whole experience over the last 10 months or so. We were doing some outbound, but we were not doing like systematic outbound. We're hiring an SDR probably within the next week to just focus on outbound. Focus on the personalized in-mails have been very, very successful for us. Targeted personalized outbound is an accelerator. Number two, ABM is effective with prospects and existing customers who may be at risk. When we launched that ABM program, we were only thinking of it in terms of net new customers. But look at what happened, with that renewal and the proposals that were out and this big idea. It could be really game-changing for us, so we're excited about it. Number three, ABM is possible for companies of all sizes. We would love to have more resources so that we could scale it better. But we believe that with what we're doing now, more resources will come our way with faster and bigger deals, and we will be able to do more of this. And going back to DXC Technology, that's a $24 billion company. They even started with one account. And to finish their story, they won that account. It's really easy to measure the success of this because you either win the account or you don't. They won the account. They would tell you they got a lot of luck because if they hadn't won it, the story might have ended there. But now they have multiple pursuit marketing teams that engage with the sales teams and do these pursuit marketing projects. Our toolkit, it's not anything crazy. As we just use HubSpot, we template a lot of the content so that our salespeople can, drag and drop into emails and things, and we have a lot of copy that we can pull from that's boilerplate and customize it. We create our CTAs and landing pages and everything in HubSpot and track everything, and we use HubSpot CRM as well. LinkedIn we use very heavily just for contact research. Little caveat there, you have to verify it typically, and be aware that sometimes people don't change their profiles and they're off somewhere else. So they're not always accurate, so you have to double verify. The in-mails we love. LinkedIn ads, we're not sure yet. We've been testing those. The results have been kind of mixed. It seems expensive, but we're going to do more testing of that. And then finally, just Google. When it comes to the research that you do on accounts, we start with Google. We do a lot of creative keyword searching. So, company name, sales strategy. We don't just do company name and the name of the person we're targeting. We try to do a lot of keywords around, what their role is and see if we can uncover things. Sometimes you find decks or things that are kind of hidden that have wonderful information. The earnings calls, I think, are critical. And read the whole thing, read the Q&A. There's a lot of great information in there about what companies are doing, and they tend to be a little bit more casual in the Q&A and reveal things. Seeking Alpha is a website that has the earnings calls for free, the most recent ones up for free, and so you can read it all there. It's really helpful. And then finally, some critical ingredients for success. There's some really important things also to consider. If you're a bigger company with lots of sales reps, why does this keep moving? Sorry, guys. The rep is as important as the account. If you are working with a rep who seems like you're trying to kind of shove it down their throat, your program that you're so excited about, don't do it. Do it with someone who really wants it and who is engaged. Dorothea Gosling of DXC likes to say that getting a pursuit marketing engagement is a privilege, it's not a right. And she says if the sales team or the account rep is not 100% engaged, she just won't even go there. With our team, it's really easy because we can all fit in one room and we meet every week and we talk about what's going on, and that's how we come up with some of these ideas. So we have really great sales and marketing alignment. As we grow, I wonder if it's going to get a lot harder, and that might be something that you're all experiencing at bigger companies. The second thing is the right hook. When I talked about the video that Wade did about, hey, we know you're targeting your top 300 accounts, here's how we can help you do that. That's a hook. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for something great like that is super relevant to them and just ties right into what we're selling. You have to make that connection between something they care about and something that you care about and how you're going to help them move that forward. And that's where the homework comes in. Doing your homework is not looking on the corporate website and just looking at some LinkedIn profiles. When you're talking about ABM, especially large account ABM, you might only have one shot if you're sending something to someone pretty senior. And you want to make sure you get it right. You want to make sure you get that hook right and zero in on something that's really relevant to them. And then finally, I think this is the hardest part, I think, for us at our company, where we get really excited about what we're doing. We want to see those results right away. The customer's not on the same timetable that we are on. And so you have to follow up consistently and be patient. And I would suggest continuing to read those earnings calls, because you'll find other items that you can follow up with again, and they're going to see over time that you really care and you want to help them and you're engaged and you've done your homework and know what they're facing in their business. So that's all I have prepared today. Here's my contact info. I love talking about this stuff, so I'm happy to have a conversation with any of you about it. I think it's fascinating, and we have lots of stories from our customers, and I would love to collect more from all of you. So feel free to contact me anytime about this. And with that, I'll open it up for questions. Yes?
Yeah, I'm curious about the division of work involved in creating these teams. It sounded like you may be doing most of the work, or it's a sale, all the research, all the analysis.
Yep. Yeah, the question was about the division of labor, like who's doing all this stuff within our company, given that our team is so small. Yeah, we're all doing a little piece. We have quite a robust editorial team because of what our business is. And so we've got a lot of rich content at the ready. So if I want to know what Google's doing or Salesforce is doing, I just look it up in our own database. And I can also call on our editorial team, go and research this, and they do it fast. They do it like in a day. So it's something that's easy to do, and then we might have a conversation as a team, okay, what's our hook gonna be? And then the sales, Wade made his own video, but he does those all the time, so he did that. It's a little bit daunting from a scale perspective, but I feel like if we can see success like this, then we can scale it more because we can hire people to do it. I'm already thinking, could I hire one person who just does this kind of stuff? And maybe when it's slower, they could do some editorial work, because it's really the same skill set. It's research, and it's business acumen. It's knowing what is that hook. I mean, part of the challenge maybe at some of your organizations, or I could see it happening, is people not having the business acumen to know what a hook is. I went through that with, we go through that all the time with hiring editorial staffers, is Starbucks launching a new cappuccino flavor is not a business initiative. Driving same-store traffic by creating new and exciting menu items, that's the initiative. So some people understand that and some people don't. So, I would love to be able to hire someone who can just do that and knock that out all day, because then we can do more of these. Yes?
Hi, thanks for the presentation. My question is for your LinkedIn in-mail campaigns.
Yes.
How are you measuring the success rate on those?
Well, they're very small. It's small outreach, right? So one salesperson sends in-mails to 60 people at a company and gets 3 responses, and that's...
Are they marking those then in the CRM?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they are. They are.
So it's their diligence actually recording it versus
an
automated thing.
Yeah, and then, a goal is to try to get these people engaged and download something of ours so that we can actually start marketing to them. We don't just pull people, into our CRM or HubSpot email lists or anything until they give us their information, even though we kind of already have it. So we might send them an in-mail, but then they might come and download an ebook, and then we can send them our newsletters and other things and start nurturing them. Yes?
Thanks. That's a great presentation, and you give some advice for the inbound tools, like linking emails. Do you have any recommendations or what you used for the outbound marketing? For outbound marketing, it's... You mentioned billboard.
Sorry?
You mentioned billboard in the customer's area. Is there any other tools for the outbound marketing that you used?
We're really just using LinkedIn at this point and the phone. An email. Sometimes we can get their email. We won't send them a newsletter, but one of our salespeople will get their email and send them a personalized email and follow up. It's call, email, but usually with something new to offer along the way, that constant engagement. There's that statistic that's thrown out there about, it takes 7 touches, and we really find that to be true. And sometimes when you get a hold of someone, they might say, and I do it too with people who are trying to sell stuff to me. It's like, I've been wanting to call you, but everyone's just so busy. And so that's why we find it's helpful to just continually put valuable information in front of them. And then when they're ready, they'll call you back.
Thanks.
It's kind of low tech. I mean, I probably should have said at the beginning of the presentation, if you were expecting a silver bullet, or if you're expecting me to reveal some amazing technology that is lets you just push a button and it just runs. That's not, it never happens. I mean, I don't know how many times I have to learn that lesson. I always come to these conferences, I get all excited. There is great technology out there that helps support, but there's nothing that really does the hard work, which is understanding what's going on with the customer and creating a message exactly to support that. Because you can send these people generic messages all day long, and you just become part of their noise problem. But if you take the time to actually learn about the customer and find that hook, you send them one in-mail, they almost always will get back to you. I mean, who wouldn't want to get back to you if you say, your boss just said this last week. We can really help you help your boss. I mean, it's almost like they're almost obligated to get back to you unless they think you're just full of it or something. So we find that's really effective. So all the time that you spend doing generic campaigns, you could spend more time on your research and do something a little bit more targeted. But it is old school, it's kind of low tech, but it works. Yes?
It's very interesting presentations, but 2 points that catch my attention. The first one is you mentioned on the target linking ad with the CEO images. Can you tell me more about how to launch the ad with specific images? Because
The specific image?
Yeah, we know linking have a minimal requirement audience is 300s, right?
Yeah, so we found something that the CEO had said that was relevant from a sales strategy perspective, and we just created a little image of him with the quote laid over it, and then we really just targeted the people who work at that company on LinkedIn with certain titles, and they clicked through on that image, and they came to our landing page that had a bigger image of him with the same quote, and the message was, your CEO is, trying to do this. Don't you want to help him, help support him?
So the target companies have more than 300 employees, right?
Yes, they were large companies. Yes, very large.
Second point I found interesting is the fishing line you include in the gift box.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
The fishing line you include.
Oh, the fishing line.
So what you're wondering, how do you find the personal hobbies? Is that you get from SDRs or you just search on the social medias by the...
No, it's usually, it can be on social media, it can be in an interview that they give. Interviews are another great source of insight on these people. They tend to share some more personal information, or we don't really jump to conclusions. If there's a picture of a person fishing on Twitter, we're not going to say, oh, they're a fisherman. They really have to say something about it for us to feel confident that if we include that in their box of awesome, that they'll kind of be like, oh wow, this is great. And there's a fine line between doing your homework and being really creepy. And I get worried sometimes that people will use this in a creepy way. Where there's a great Modern Family episode, I don't know if you saw it, but where they're trying to sell a house and they find out about this buyer on social media and they trick out the house so it's like his perfect house and he gets really creeped out and runs away. So we don't want to do that. And we also, with GDPR, now we have a lot of profiles on people in Europe, but we've started to black out a lot of the content and not collect a lot of the content anymore for those profiles. But people appreciate it if you approach them in a thoughtful way with something personal for the most part. It's usually a good thing.
So my last question is, I noticed your campaigns, the time frames cross over almost from 2017 until 2018. So we just have a question. Let's say we're targeting 50 accounts for the ABM. What's your estimate by how many people we should contribute for this whole ABM work?
How many people to do the work?
Yes.
It depends on what type of campaign you're doing. I mean, we have customers who are targeting 50 accounts, and they have account teams for every account, and then they have a small team that is facilitating this more targeted ABM type of outreach. So there are quite a lot of people involved, and these are very big accounts. That's why I would also always recommend, if you're a small company or if you have a very small team and few resources, that you start really small and start with one account or two accounts. And I mean, I think at this point, since May, or actually since November, we've touched probably 50 accounts with this type of methodology, but it wasn't like the full-blown thing for every account. 40 accounts got the box of awesome and one account got the full-on treatment. So I would start small and prove success, and that helps get people excited and behind you, that they say, I want to do more of this. And then it's easier to get the budget to do it, and hopefully you have revenue behind it because you're closing those bigger deals faster.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
How do you get past the gatekeepers in a kind way?
That's a great question. The question was, how do you get past the gatekeepers in a kind way? So are you talking specifically about when you're targeting C-level people? Yeah, well, it's not easy. What we hear from our customers, and we have customers who are specifically targeting CIOs, Chief Information Officers, we hear this over and over again. They'll say, you know, I've been trying to bang this person's door down for a year. I looked at your profile. I found this nugget of information. I wrote him or her an email. I got an email back within a couple of days. I got a meeting. The meeting was scheduled for 15 minutes and he gave us an hour. I mean, we hear that story all the time. People just want to be approached with something that's relevant to them, and there's just so much noise. I think one of the unintended consequences of all the tools that we have available to us is that we're just generating more noise, and you know, we all want everything to be easy, so we create copy, we create it about ourselves, because we think we're awesome, then we send it out and it's just deleted instantly. Or if you send it through email, people get angry because it's like, what is this? This is not relevant to me. So it's like what is old is new again. I mean, this is what we were doing 15 years ago when I was helping Cisco target CIOs. We were doing the same thing. It's easier now because it's easier to create emails and graphics and landing pages and things that are customized, but you still have to do the work of figuring out who these people are, what they care about, what's their strategy, what are their initiatives, so that you can find that perfect hook that will get their attention. Yes?
So Sharon, thanks for sharing your insights on some of the new strategies that you've used. My question is, with ABM marketing, it's been used successfully by large companies. As a small company, when you're starting it out, one of the key asks that the CFO will ask you is, what's the cost of acquisition of a customer?
Yes.
Right? What's the cost of acquisition? What's the cost of retention of a customer using this type of using ABM marketing? Could you share some insights as to how would you go about capturing that? Because the sales cycles are kind of long.
Yes.
Anywhere from 6 months to a year.
Yes.
How do you go about tracking that?
Yes. We don't track it very well, to be honest. We're running around with our hair on fire all day. We all wear tons of hats. We're growing really quickly. For like 5 years, it was just me and my partner and a bunch of contractors. Now we have employees, full-time employees, and we're going to be hiring consistently. We just started working with a fractional CFO, and I'm sure that he's going to be asking that question. But to answer your question, we do some tracking, just tracking it in a Google Doc, as simple as that, and it is all over the place. It's really all over the place. For some of those "we miss you" things, it doesn't cost anything. It's just somebody writing an email and maybe someone doing a little bit of research. The video, same thing. It's people's time who already work there. We're not incurring any extra cost. With the Box of Awesome, yeah, we're tracking that very carefully, very, very carefully, because that's more expensive. We also are tracking anything like when we do a LinkedIn ad campaign, because that tends to be expensive. So, but again, the attribution is really tough. That in that first example that I showed, where we had the customer that came over to the new company, we don't know we don't know what to attribute the deal to. It's just a long process of doing lots of different things, some of them which cost nothing and others which are quite expensive.
So labor is one thing that you can't count, time spent on a particular account.
Yes.
Doing research and then in doing targeted messaging as well, right?
Yeah, and it's really fluid too, because we routinely research these companies as part of our product. We have profiles, 100 profiles on AWS and 100 profiles on HP and all these different tech companies. So we've kind of got it in there. It's just someone has to go in and read through and see what's that hook. Sometimes we do net new research, but most of the time we've already got it in our database.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you for the talk. I'm curious about the templates and snippets that you're using in HubSpot. Do you set them up by account that you're trying to reach, or job level, or campaign? What's your strategy for that?
What is our strategy for that, Molly? Molly Smith, everybody.
So when we're doing it on a company level, we create a separate landing page tailored exactly to that company. We only provide on our any type of marketing materials links to that web page. So it's not anything anybody else can access. We put all of our LinkedIn ads. You can set your LinkedIn ads so they only target people from that company, not any type of look-alike audience. And so therefore, those people are the only people that are seeing that page.
And as for the snippets, those are more boilerplate to our company, right? And from what I've seen, I have seen them on a limited basis, but it's like, what we segment by, we have 3 segments basically at this point. We have marketers, sales, and recruiters. We do have some recruiter customers. So if you go on our website, you'll see those 3 buckets. So everything we do from a messaging perspective, we tend to bucket it in those 3 groups, but we also have snippets and email newsletters and copy that is applicable to all of those audiences.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, do we have time for one more?
I won't be offended if anyone leaves while I ask this question. Thanks for sticking around, Sharon. Great presentation. I had a question about cadence and time frame. So, of course, long sales cycles with enterprise sales. Over what period of time are you trying to engage with these targeted outbound campaigns, and what type of cadence are you thinking about?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, we map out the cadence when we do something like this, and we're very mindful of the fact that people don't seem to have a tolerance for the types of cadence that we saw even 18 months ago. It seems, I don't know if you guys are feeling it, and I heard this last year at this show, HubSpot said they were emailing less. They were sending fewer newsletters, doing fewer things better because there's just so much noise. Response rates were going down, opens were going down, and so we've actually slowed down our cadence quite a bit. And my rule of thumb is don't send anything until you have something to say that is substantive. I don't ever want to be in a position, and I've actually been in this position before, where it's like, oh, it's Tuesday, we have to send out our newsletter. It's just hold off, and no one's sitting there waiting for your newsletter to hit their inbox. They're not going to notice if you don't send for 2 to 3 weeks. Children will not die. It's not a big deal. You wait till you have something really exciting for them. And we started doing that probably about 6 months ago because our salespeople were complaining actually that marketing was sending their prospects too many emails and their customers too many emails. So our response rates have gone back up since we slowed down. And it's less work for us. Hooray, that's great.
So with the pursuit campaign specifically, are you, say, trying to send the mailer and the in-mails through LinkedIn ads, the subway campaign all within 1 month, or kind of a campaign like that that's targeted and focused?
Well, I think I can't speak for DXC because that's what they did, but what we did, I tried to copy what they were talking about, and so we just mapped it all out in a Google Doc with the dates, and so we started with the LinkedIn campaign and did those simultaneously with the first in-mails, and then we did a second in-mail like 2 weeks later, and we did some phone call follow-up after that, and it was all during the holidays, so it was a little bit crazy with what the cadence was because we were having those big gaps of holidays, but we're really sensitive about not hitting them up too much. But there is some value into having it somewhat concentrated because, as Nick Panay and Dorothea Gosling said from DXC, they said their objective is to kind of swarm the account, and just so you almost imagine someone saying, gosh, I'm hearing that company seems to be everywhere. I mean, you don't want to annoy them, but you want to create this sense like, oh wow, they're kind of, what is this company? I'm seeing them a lot, and they seem to have stuff that's relevant to me. That's the goal.
And then, Molly, you actually mentioned a landing page that was custom for the prospect. I'm curious what type of content you would put on that page that's really specific to that prospect versus general to the audience or the level of contact.
We have a lot of good thought leadership content. And so for this particular company and what their CEO was going for, we actually have an ebook that really will help out that particular demographics, whether it was marketers or sales people. So what we did is I made a separate landing page for not only the company, separate CTAs, separate, it was everything, so we could track what was being downloaded. And it's sometimes sounds a little bit harder than what it was. It's, sometimes you're just cloning, what was your original for, everybody. You're putting that, you're just cloning it and then giving it a new name, and that's what you use.
And that was the one where we did have the photo of the CEO and the message on it.
That was that.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. We're out of time. Thanks so much. Enjoy the rest of your time here.